world, I decided I would do a demo for the internet during this scary, uncertain time. Everyone's at home, bored. Not everybody. There's a lot of people working hard and sacrificing their own health for others, and I thank you very much for that. I'm grateful that I can be home, very close to my children during this time of quarantine. While I'm recording this, they might come in and out, so I'll be doing this with several takes or pauses in between. I can entertain them for little bits of time before they come back and need something else. But I decided to do a large jug. I will show you an example of a smaller one. I'm going to do a larger one today. I have this one. The lid, ceramic lid that opens. This dips in the center with carving, and the cicada has Canthon metal antenna. So it'll look like this, but taller. I'll set this back over here. Oh, there's already a child coming in. I'm gonna take this and slice it. So, I have this large chunk of brown clay. It looks like chocolate. They call it black clay, but I call it brown because it doesn't really turn all the way black. So the things you're gonna need are a chunk of clay, a rolling pin, which I have out there, or a hand roller. I use, this is one of the most commonly used tools that I use most often. It's a needle tool. If you don't have one, you can use a toothpick, or I use also an X-Acto knife, which this one's really old and been around, so it doesn't have to be super sharp, or you can use a knife if you have limited tools. Here comes another kid. And then this tool is really useful. It's a shaping tool. If you don't have one, you can make one out of a credit card. You just cut the edges.
We have violins.
So the clay is similar to a piece of cheese. When I'm working with clay, it oftentimes reminds me of cooking or baking. So many similar qualities to it, but this is like a cheese cutter. You could use a thread or a wire if you don't have one at home. I'm gonna go with the shape of this chunk as far as how the size of the jug. I'm just gonna cut 2 slabs from this, and that'll be the front and the back, and then I'm gonna have some sides to it, and then the top will be a separate piece here, and then this will be a separate piece. So I'm gonna do about 1/2 inch thick. This clay has a lot of grog in it, which is kind of like, it's not like sand, it's like tiny pieces that are rough that give it more body. So I have my first piece here. Set it over here. Do one that's close to the same thickness as that one. It's like cutting cheese or cutting a piece of bread. So now I have the front and the back piece, and I need some for the sides. So I'm gonna just go with this thickness, pat it into a square, and then I'm gonna use these for the sides. There's already a nice shape there. Trying to minimize the amount of clay I'm using because I don't have a whole lot left and I'm gonna be stuck at home for a long time. So I'm thinking this will be a good time to get some clay stuff done because I haven't been doing a lot of clay stuff lately. I haven't been doing much art lately, but I haven't had a lot of time. My kids take up a lot of my time and they both do not nap anymore, so there's not much time that they're not right by my side. Luckily my husband's home right now and he's giving me a little break. So I'm gonna wrap this back up while I join those pieces so it doesn't dry out. I've had this clay for a while. Clay stays workable for a long time as long as you keep it covered well enough. You're also going to want some kind of wooden piece, a non-porous surface to build your piece on, otherwise it will stick. So this piece and this piece, I'm going to use a scoring tool if you have it. If not, you can use this to score the sides. Scoring and slipping is a really important thing to learn in ceramics. It's one of the first things you need to learn to even make clay. So I'm going to be scoring these sides to connect them. I'm not concerned with making this a perfectly square vessel because I'm going to be covering it with different embellishments. So you won't really see the outside form. And I'm just scoring these up so I can join them easily. I'm going to score all the sides just because I'm not certain where I'm going to connect it. I'm going to do the same with this. Score, score. Okay, so all sides are scored. I have some older slip. Slip is kind of like sludge made from the clay that you use. I use it as a glue to connect the pieces. If you don't have any slip made, you can just kind of put water on it and then scrape it up. You just want it to be kind of mushy so it sticks well to each other, pieces. So I'm going to put this one on the inside. I'm going to take this piece, just kind of smush it together. This clay is still really soft, so it sticks very easily. I just want to keep it stable enough to where it doesn't fall. Those pieces connected. I'm going to take this one, connect it. Like I said, I'm starting with a really kind of crude shape just to get the basic shape of a jug, and then I'm going to be forming it from that shape. Starting with a base. That's how it's a good way to go with ceramics. You start with a base and then you build on and shape and take away or add to make it transform the piece, the vessel, the form that you start with. So now I'm adding this piece and I'm just, since it's so soft, just kind of pinching it together on all sides, and it's standing on its own. Okay, so now I have this general block shape. And I'm going to take my shaping tool, which you can also use with a credit card you make at home. And I'm going to try to do this so you can see it. Just kind of shape it into each other. I'm not trying to keep that edge because I'm just gonna make it a big, large jug with no particular shape. I'm gonna be adding some of the pebble pieces to the outside, so I'll show you guys how I do that. If you haven't seen it already, posted some online before showing how I do that. It's a really fun way to bring life to your piece. Now these lines will go away if you just turn it to a flat side. Scrape up if the lines bother you. Right now this feels like I'm building with brownie batter. The color and the grittiness. So I'm first gonna just join these. Since I'm kind of losing the edges, I'm gonna just make this a little more of a rounded piece rather than squared. It's gonna have a slight rectangular piece or shape, but so I'm gonna turn it like this. You always want to support the inside when you're pushing against the outside, otherwise it'll cave in. So always have your hand on the other side. And then I will give this a bottom in a moment before I forget. Because that has happened before where I build the whole piece and then I forget to put a bottom on it and it's too late because everything's too dry. You want everything to kind of be the same dryness as you're building. You don't want to add to something that's dried out and in what we call a leather hard state. So now my giant brownie box. Another tool you can use from home if you don't have the supplies are a wooden spoon or spatula, I guess this is supposed to be, to kind of tap it into place, make sure that you're compressing the clay, which is getting all the air out and extra space out, blending it really well. You can also kind of shape this. If I wanted to round it out, I would flatten it with this. I just want it to be standing upright a little bit more because it's kind of tilted right now. So the way I'm going to fix that is doing this a little bit, just to get a flatter edge. Kind of worked. Let me try this side. There's another child. I'm going to keep kind of trying to shape it a little bit in between helping my children. They're having lunch right now. So I don't know if you can see the square shape I'm trying to get at, rectangular shape. Doesn't have to be perfect as long as it's not leaning too far in one direction, because that would be not very functional for liquids. So let's see. This looks pretty good. I'm gonna kind of push down on this side. That's a little bit farther, and that's pretty okay. So now I'm going to take my cheese cutter tool and cut straight across the top to make it even for the top part. And then the neck I'll be putting on after that. So I'm just trying to make this as even as possible to get straight across. Alright, now I'm going to put a bottom and top on this form that I've got going on. I'm just going to take a slice off the top make it a little thinner than the walls. It doesn't need to be that thick. It's just going to be the bottom. I'm going to score the top. Score this part that I cut. Looks like a chocolate bar. So I have this piece, and I put some of my mud stuff on it to stick the two together. And I'm placing it right on the top. And I'm going to cut the side. Again, this is a very crude way of connecting it. It's not perfect. It's just so I can get a base down. I'm going to take a shaping tool, blend down to connect. Okay, now for the top. First I'm going to kind of beat this into place. Just kind of round these edges a little. Supporting it on the inside while I do this. I'm going to score the top so I can put the top piece on, and then I'll be making a spout. Get some of my mud. This just gives it something to attach to. If it's two flat pieces, they come apart too easily. So now I'm going to cut for my top piece. So, just going to score this and then cut away the leftover. It's also a lot like sewing. You take shapes and connect them all together to make a larger piece. Get some of my slip. And here we go to connect. Doesn't have to be perfect. I always tell people in my workshops that perfectionists, it's hard to be a perfectionist in ceramics unless you have a whole lot of time to do nothing else, and it'll drive you crazy because things happen all the time that you cannot control, just like life. Now I'm going to take the shaping tool, blend down, connect it, now I'm going to cut the opening for the top. Looks like just one solid chunk of clay, but it's not. I'll turn it so you can see. I'm gonna go right in the middle. You can draw it out first. I just kind of eye it. got the opening for the top. Next, I'm going to take another slab piece for the spout, or a mouthpiece, whatever you would like to call it. There might be a technical name for it that I don't know. Take this flat piece, just kind of make it a little larger so it can wrap around. I'm actually going to cut it down the middle to make two pieces, then connect them. So I just cut it down the middle. I'm going to take it and connect it here and here. Then I'm going to make a ring out of it, like this. Just connect it. This clay is so soft, all I have to do is pinch it together. So the pretty wide mouthpiece, it's going to be a big jug. These are functional. They're sculptural functional pieces. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of hold it up to it to see what it looks like there. It's gonna look like that. So I'm liking it. I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna make my own cork out of clay. So it can be any size, it doesn't have to be one of the common sizes, although you can use real corks if you'd like. If you can find one that fits, or you can build it to measure it, you just got to take into account that clay shrinks. Each time it's fired, it shrinks. That's why I like the clay ones, but okay, so now I'm gonna, since this clay is so soft and there's an edge in there, I'm gonna reach down and smooth it out to connect it. I'm also gonna, I'm pushing my finger up on the lip of it to blend it, and I'm pushing downward on the outside. So, just like this. Turn it as I go. This feels very primitive, and that's one of the reasons why I love clay. It's such an old art form, and you're using the earth to build something. Especially when you use minimal tools, you really feel like you're living in ancient times. Okay, so now I have the top done. Jug. Now it just needs, I'm going to take this flat piece just to kind of smooth it out and make it flat on top. And smooth around. Alright, next I will be transforming the outside of this and building a cork, a topper. Okay, so this is one of my most favorite things to do to pieces. It's a new method I've been doing a lot lately, and it involves old dried up pieces, crumbled pieces, and slip. So I'm going to start by adding a layer of slip to the outside. Doesn't have to be thin. I'm gonna score it a few times first, just to give it something to stick to a little better, so it's not sliding off. Gives it some tooth. And I'm going to take this old slip, which is the same color or close, just spread it across. I'll take some out. There's some on the bottom. I'm going to lean this down like so. And I'm going to just sprinkle the chunks that I've earlier banged out with a mallet. I like the really fine ground ones, and then the sticky. And notice this is a different color. So this is something I haven't done before, is like trying contrasting colors. I think that's really going to add to it. So I'm sprinkling it on. And I'm just gonna kind of tap it down. Kind of reminds me of using glitter. The way you put glue down and then sprinkle the glitter on top, and then you shake it off after to get any excess pieces off. Almost seems like I didn't put enough slip on. So it's sticking super well. Okay, so we're gonna hold it up and look at it. And the residual fall down, and then it looks like that. Looks like a chocolate bar with peppermint on top. Okay, so now I have done both sides with the slip and the tiny broken pieces of old projects. And I have gone for a little walk in my backyard. Didn't see anybody, and back alley rather, and I was looking for small plants with roots on them that weren't too thick but enough to leave a mark in the side of the clay. So I'm going to do some pressings. I'm going to take this side. You want some clay that's not too hard, otherwise, not too dry, otherwise it won't press into it. So I have this smooth side, and I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to try to lay it where it lays flat more easily, so like this. So I'm going to start by pressing it in, kind of spread it out as I go, so it you can see it all. Push it in pretty far so you can see all the lines. If you don't get it quite exactly how you want it, you can always draw as well with the needle tool or the toothpick. So since this piece doesn't really sit down, I'm just going to take it and kind of roll it so it can lay flat. I'm just taking and making sure all those little tiny pieces are pushing in all the way to print. I'm actually going to take this piece down so you can see all the little lines. And I'm probably going to take the toothpick and add some more to fill in the space. So when I pull it out, there it is. And then I'm going to take my needle tool and kind of draw it where you can't see it. But at least I have a guide. And then draw one down there. Actually, I'm going to take this part and push it down in here. Maybe like this. And then I'm going to do another piece over here. Going down like this. Then when you fire it once and go to add some color to it, you can take a darker color and rub it down into the clay, and it'll pull up all the little lines that you press down. It'll go into the cracks and bring those cool brachial patterns out more. Here. So now I got a root system there. I'm gonna bring it out here more. So now we're gonna do some carving on this piece. We might even do some bark printing too. A lot of times with a piece, I just start and see where it takes me. I didn't really plan. I knew I was going to do a jug. I knew I was going to try to blend different techniques that I use. So another thing I use a lot is I take bark from my yard and I do bark printing. So I just find a piece that has a ridge with a lot of texture to it, and I just take it, and again, I'm supporting from the inside, and I'm gonna just go around and press in. And I like to flip it around a little bit so it's not all going in the same direction. I just press in to the clay and it makes it look like bark. Very, very simple. Can get tiring after a while. I've done some pretty tall pieces covered with this texture, but I enjoy it. Working with clay is very tactile, and it's good for your brain and body connection. So I'm gonna make it look like a little stump. Alternate with both pieces to make it look a little more, have more variance to it and not just so uniform. I'm going to add some kind of texture here. I just take the needle tool and kind of blend it to the top. Do the whole entire top like this. Just taking the needle tool and tapping it in so it kind of fans out a little bit. This clay is really soft and it has that grog in it, so it's good for making it look like earth related, land related, natural kind of forms. Lends well to it. So doing this all the way around. Now it looks kind of like the surface of the ground or the bottom of a tree. So I did this all the way around. Alright, now I'm going to be making a space for where, excuse me, some kind of creature is going to go, or insect or frog, which friend asked about. Let's see. I'm going to carve a shape in the center using this carving tool. And I'm just going to, and it's actually going to look really cool because it's going to show the dark clay underneath. And I'm trying to carve it in a way that looks like an insect or bug might have done with its shell or little feelers, whatever those parts are called. I like to do ant tunnels too. Those are fun. But I think of creatures that live underground, such as cicadas, which are very fascinating to me because they live so long underground compared to all the other insects. They've been known to be underground for 17 years. Now you want to be careful that you don't push in too far because it could break open, which is what I'm trying to not do. So I'm going to push in a little bit, giving it a little spot to rest. I also push in so that it makes it a little more difficult to break, less fragile because it has like a little pocket rather than right off the edge. So I'm back and I managed to escape from my family for a little bit. Now I'm going to be adding a insect to go in the carved space, which is supposed to be kind of like a sliced view of underground to see a bug has burrowed down into the earth. So I'm going to make the bug that goes in, and I'm going to do a beetle, and I'm going to do it just kind of from my imagination, so not really based on any particular real life beetle, just kind of from my brain of different beetles I've seen. I want it to fit nicely in there. So I'm going to start with the body. This is my favorite clay, which is out of stock right now, and I'm sad, so making it last. As I'm working, I'm going to hold it up to make sure it's not getting too big. That looks way too big. All right, now I am on the last part of this piece, which is making the stopper for this hole. I'm gonna be using, since I've been using both colors, I'm gonna layer them and then swirl them and then fit it inside of the empty space. So I'm just gonna take these and put them into different pieces. And I love to swirl different colored clays together. It's so much fun. The key is to not mix them too much. So I pulled them in different colors and now I'm stacking them. It's gonna look like vertebrae almost. Okay, now I got all this together and I'm just gonna smush it, roll it, now twist it. I'm really gonna try to move these two colors together. So I can reveal the darker color to mix it. Swirl it some more. Not quite swirled as much as I'd like. Now it's starting to get a nice swirl to it. It's called agate ware. Looks like a rock. So nice and swirly and beautiful. I'm gonna make it to fit the hole, and I'm just gonna tilt this again to show you it's gonna fit in there. Okay, the width is good. Now it's gotta be a little less thick. Okay, I'm gonna smush it a little this way, this way. Okay, I'm gonna have to cut it now. And I'm putting it okay, let's see how I have to cut it now. Okay, I'm gonna take a little length off of it. And it's going to reveal some beautiful little markings. Smooth it away with a sponge. Oh yeah, beautiful. Can get a better look. Nice agate design. Okay, let's see if it fits in here now. Almost. There we go. Let's see. I'm smushing it down in there. It completed. I added some more of that to the sides. I'm gonna leave this blank. I have a problem when I'm photographing these pieces and there's more than one view. It's hard to, you can't ever show it online, all the views, so I'm just gonna keep it with one important view, which is the front. And I'm pretty happy with it. hope that I helped you learn a thing or two, and thank you for watching if you made it this far. Stay safe.